Good evening and welcome back. Right, as promised, I've got something different again tonight. So I can tell you what happened and why this subject's come up. I was looking through the window the other night and something caught my attention. And it was the moon. But this wasn't an ordinary moon. This was a blood moon. This is where the moon turns orange. It was huge in the sky and it was bright orange and it attracted my attention, so I went outside to take a picture of it. Unfortunately, it turned out a bit blurry, but through my naked eye I thought there must be millions of people watching this all around the world, yet we don't know much about the moon. So I thought, right, well, I'm going to find out something about the moon. And what I found was very disturbing. So I'm going to tell you what I found and the information I've got about it. And I think it's going to, if nothing else, make you think and wonder. Right. One of the most mysterious things about the moon is that the dust on the top of the moon is actually older than the rocks underneath. Now, on planet Earth, we know that whatever's on the top is younger and underneath is older. But it doesn't work that way on the moon. The dust is older than the rock underneath. Very strange. Also, when you look at the moon, you see lots of pits all over the moon. These are impact craters where things have hit the moon. But the strange thing is, if you were to measure the distance from the top of those impact craters to the bottom, they're all roughly the same depth. That means that they're covered in dust. If you could sweep all that dust off, there'd be a very good chance that it'd be a smooth round ball underneath. So it's that bit of gravity holding it on. All the dust. Very strange again, another strange thing. And the absolute belter for all of these is when the Apollo 17 mission went to the moon, they wanted to test the moon to see about what's underneath, like, because Earth has a molten core. So what they did was they got the bottom half of their lander, that's part of the spaceship. When they'd finished and got back into orbit, they crashed it into the moon to see what would happen. What they thought would happen didn't happen. What really happened was so bizarre. The whole moon reverberated, and it reverberated like a bell. So it went dong, like that. This didn't stop for a couple of seconds. This reverberation went on for over an hour. Excuse me. So that actually shocked everyone, because that is exactly what happens when you hit a bell. That's what makes the noise. But the reason that happens is because it's hollow. A bell is hollow, so it can reverberate round. So does this mean that the moon is hollow? Science would say if it reverberates like that in a particular wave, it would be a hollow sphere. So you've got that, you've got this dust, you've got the sediment. So I'm not saying this is the Death Star, but it's very, very bizarre. Right. That is one thing just to tempt you. Right. Second of all, some interesting facts that I've also found out is the Chinese are the first people to land on the dark side of the moon. Now, the dark side of the moon is not dark like you think. It's like anything else. When it swings round, it's got the sun glaring on it, like over here. But the moon doesn't spin. We only see the front face of it as it goes around us. Very strange. Not supposed to do that mathematically. So that's a very bizarre thing that happens with that one. Right. Now, when the Chinese landed, this was only a couple of years ago. Because remember, we didn't know it. We thought nobody lands on the moon anymore. Oh, but the Chinese do. They just don't choose to tell us very often. So, when they were going around the dark side of the moon, they actually came across what looks like liquid. A green liquid. They've also found a blue, but they found green liquid as well. That's the main one. They're not sure if it's liquid, whether it could be from an impact crater or something like that, where it's a bit of where the dust has gone into like a glass almost. But it looks like liquid, so that'll be interesting. They haven't got them samples returned yet. And then also the Apollo 17, when that went, did a lot of experiments as well as the dong effect. Now, they have never released the findings of all of their experiments, which is very strange. So, and after that, the Americans never went back either, nor did the Russians. So, it's only been the Chinese just lately. Now, the Russians actually, they decided in 1962 that they were going to actually try to build a base on the moon. Now, the base was going to be called the Zvazda. I've probably said that totally wrong, but translated it means star. Okay, and they were going to make a moon base star. It was to support between 3 and 12 people. It was to be three underground, like a rabbit warren, really. They were going to transport it up to space on their M1 rockets. Unfortunately, the M1 rocket didn't have a very good record, and that was subsequently got rid of. But then it was transported with what they call the Vulcan rocket. Now, the Vulcan rockets were massive, great things, and they reckoned that they could transport I think it was 31 tons of this moon base up to the moon on 5 of these massive Vulcan rockets. Now, this eventually was got rid of, mainly because the Russian Federation fell apart, and no longer the USSR doesn't exist. So that stopped. However, they also, to this day, there is still 2 or 3 of the Russian shuttles, still knocking about. They're just rusting away in the hangars. So that's interesting in itself. Now, the Americans, again, they've sent up all the Apollo missions, all these things, all the different types of missions all over the place. Now, originally, it was the first of their space programs was run by NACA. Not the word we'd use in England. That means something totally different. Okay, so NACA, which is the National Aviation Committee for Aeronautics. So that was their old name, the NACAs. And then when NACA was gone, they changed their name to NASA. That sounds a lot better. So that's how when NASA came along in 1958. That was. It was led by a guy called von Braun. Now, von Braun was actually a German guy. He was in charge of the Nazi rockets in World War II. At the end of that, him and a lot of the other guys were captured and taken to America, where they were employed by the Americans on nuclear scientists, nuclear science, and the rocket program for NASA. Now, von Braun was one of the head guys for NASA all the way through his life. He had a long life, and all that time he was working for NASA in the end. So he was in charge of a lot of things. Okay, now the Russians themselves. The Russians, they were busy, obviously. From 1960s, they started their program. As I say, 1974, the M1 rockets were got rid of, and then the Vulcans came in, and it was 31 tons of it. I'm just reading through scripts I've got here, little bits I've put down here. And then, as I say, it goes back to this interesting bit where China are the first to land on the dark side of the moon. Everyone else was going for Mars, but the dark side of the moon has now been explored by the Chinese. Also, there's some very rare minerals on the moon that don't actually happen in the natural world. They have to be created, and there's lots of them on the moon. How strange! So somebody had to create them. They aren't natural to the natural world. They're compounds. So that's an interesting thing. So I thought, right, okay, now I've just done all of that information at you. That is to pique your interest. Like anything else you see, we don't know the answers. Nobody knows the answers to everything. But sometimes something that's like the moon, what you look at, most people look at least once a week, you never ask questions about it. So I hope I've answered some of those questions, and I hope I've piqued your interest to actually look into asking some more questions. So, and that's it for tonight. Please remember, I have lots of different subjects. Push that subscribe button. Tell your friends about it. Tell about the eccentric Englishman who does weird things. So I also do the news, which is normal. That'll be the next one you get from me. Okay. I hope I've amused you and entertained you